Governor Wike today says he would not leave the PDP, but he will fight on within the rank and file of the party to achieve the aim they're set to achieve. And Governor Akerodolu will arm Amotekun security outfit to fight bandits as he queries a double standard system which allows Katsina security outfit to bear arms to fight bandits. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimaloye in Abuja. You know, your world of politics is a very fast-paced one as we approach the campaign season. And so let's get started because we have a lot of grounds to cover. Let's tell you quickly that there seems to be a change of guard in the leadership of the Nigeria Governors Forum. The governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal, has replaced Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti State as the chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum, NGF. The chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum and governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi, today at the National Economic Council meeting held at the Aso Rock Villa, Abuja, transferred power of the NGF to Governor Tambuwal. And according to a statement from the forum, Mr. Fayemi will formally hand over power to Mr. Tambuwal on October 16, 2022. The Sokoto State governor will be holding forth until May next year when a proper election is conducted among the governors. Tambuwal was the vice chairman to Kayode Fayemi in the Governors Forum. He served in that capacity for 4 years. Fayemi was only recently elected as a president of the Forum of Regional and State Governments in the state of Casablanca in Morocco. There are a few stories for you because there may not be a talking point tonight, but you need to get updated with them, and they are captured in our political roundup.
As the 2023 general election draws near, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Usman Alkali Baba, is asking officers and men in the force to maintain neutrality and display core professionalism and fairness in their dealings with all parties and in accordance with the Electoral Act. He also warns that he will not tolerate any form of violence from any quarters. He was speaking during a strategic meeting with senior police officers in Abuja.
Any unauthorized quasi-security agent found to be engaging in any election or political activities stands the risk of being arrested and prosecuted along with their collaborators.
A former governor of Borno State, Senator Ali Modu Sharif, has met with former President Olusegun Obasanjo at his presidential library residence in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. Speaking shortly after the meeting, which lasted for over 40 minutes, the former governor disclosed that his meeting with the former president was private. Though the former governor did not speak to journalists on the outcome of the meeting, he is confident that his party, the All Progressives Congress, will win the 2023 general elections.
My party is my party. I want my party to win.
Hundreds of supporters of the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, gathered in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital, to deliberate and strategize on how to secure victory for the party in the state in the 2023 election. The supporters, who are made up of 21 different groups known as Atiku Support Organization, described Mr. Atiku as a unifier and are hopeful that the ongoing crisis rocking the party will soon be addressed by the national leaders of the party.
Atiku has been vice president for 8 years, and Obasanjo can attest to it, the kind of quality he has as a leader that can drive this country.
Members of the Coalition of United Political Parties are asking for thorough investigations into the Parish Club refunds and payments to facilitators. The group, which briefed journalists at a news conference in Abuja, urges the Nigerian governors to pay all legitimate claims by consultants who helped the government to discover and reclaim those excesses in the Parish Club loan repayments.
Being a matter that concerns our national commonwealth, we consider it a patriotic duty to intervene in a decisive manner, not only to lay the facts bare, but also to ensure that justice is served to all parties involved.
Former Plateau State Governor Joshua Dariye has returned to the state after his release from prison. Senator Dariye arrived at Yakubu Gowon Airport Jos to a large welcoming crowd. Speaking at a reception organized to welcome him, Senator Dari expresses appreciation to President Muhammadu Buhari and his supporters for their prayers while in prison. And the Albino Foundation is asking political parties to involve people living with disability in their campaign structure, as this will serve as the best way to balance the efforts of civil society groups working to ensure inclusive elections. Addressing journalists in Abuja, the founder of the foundation, Mr. J.K. Pele, says it is important that political parties adopt the practices that will increase inclusivity of underrepresented communities.
As enshrined in 2018 Disability Act, political parties must ensure that locations and settings for meetings and campaign activities are accessible to all persons with disability.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Now, it's a matter of, well, national security and also of law from the perspectives that this matter can be treated, and is a very important one. So sit tight, everyone, and let me begin. Ondo State Governor Rotimi Akerodolu is apparently not happy, and he has made his views public on the security situation in the country, and specifically in the southwest region of the country. Governor Akerodolu in a statement says that the state will procure arms for operatives of the Western Nigeria Security Network, codenamed Amotekun. He said if the federal government can allow a security outfit in Katsina to carry arms, then Amotekun should be granted the same right. He was reacting to a video making the rounds showing the equivalent of the Western Nigeria Security Network Amotekun Corps in Katsina obtaining the approval of the federal government to bear arms. He says is fraught with great dangers. Governor Akerodolu, in a statement he personally signed today and released to the public, he says, quote, that Katsina was able to arm its state security force with a display of AK-47 means we are pursuing one country, two systems. Denying Amotekun the right to bear arms exposes the Southwest to life-threatening marauders and organized crime. It is also deliberate destruction of our agricultural sector. It is an existential threat. We want to reiterate that what is sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. Ondo State government, under the doctrine of necessity, have decided to fulfill its legal, constitutional, and moral duty to the citizens of the state by acquiring arms to protect them. End of quote. That's a portion of the statement that Governor Akerodolu personally signed today and released. This matter has both legal and security implications, in the sense that one will argue that the issue of arms and bearing of arms and the permit to do so lies on the exclusive legislative list. People will argue, and the powers of the state's governors or the state authorities to protect their territories is being questioned. The reasons why some have argued for state police in the country. Can a governor say to himself that he has all the power to be able to protect everyone in his state by allowing them to be able to control this kind of security in the manner in which he wants it to be controlled, based on the peculiarities and the specific needs of each of the states? This is very important issues that have caused to question the reasons why people are being killed in parts of Nigeria by bandits and unknown people who will go in during broad daylight and even at night to kill innocent citizens. So let's get some legal perspectives to this, one that may be a very constitutional debate. Tonight, I'm being joined by a very vocal lawyer and social commentator, right activist, Mr. Dele Farotimi, who joins us virtually from Lagos Island, I say downtown or uptown of Lagos. Mr. Dele Farotimi joins us virtually from Lagos. And also joining us is a senior advocate and professor of law, Professor Adoba Omorege. He also joins us virtually from Abuja. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. First and foremost, perhaps I should allow Mr. Farotimi to have a shot at it first and give us a sense of what you make of Governor Akerodolu's legal, what do you call, views, is express his views in this sense. And for him to have come out to say what is good for Katsina, it's good for Ondo State or for the southwest region of the country. In our laws, can state security outfits or regional security outfit bear arms? Who has the power, the prerogative to permit carrying of arms?
Well, good evening again, Sheo, and good evening, learned professor, learned Silk. Let me quickly say this. Maybe the questions as to the correctness or otherwise of the legal position in relation to your question should have been addressed to the learned Silk. Me, I'm not a lawyer like that, because if we must tell ourselves the truth, the very basis of Nigeria itself is predicated not on law, but on force. The last time the Nigerian people expressed their will in any way was back in 1963. So what you have today are the imperatives of men who have elected to give us what they call laws. And this law that they have made is what Governor Akerodolu was speaking to. And if you listen to him, he wasn't just talking about bearing arms. It was specific. He says we believe in one Nigeria. But that one Nigeria appears to have become one where we become a country with two systems of law. So what you are hearing the chief executive of a state saying is a confession of his impotence in the face of the unjust laws that governs Nigeria. And he has merely pointed at Katsina as an example of just how uneven the system is in actual day-to-day operation. So when you ask that question like that, the truth is that the 1999 Constitution does not allow the learned Silk governing Ondo State to assume the powers that he has taken. But the truth again is that if his sworn duty is to protect the citizens of Ondo State, and he finds himself hamstrung by the powers of the federal government, which has grown beyond the scope of his own creation, which is why the governor was again talking about the pre-independence constitution and the internment of those who agreed to form Nigeria. So the question is not really one of law, as the Leonard Silk has said, it's one of necessity. You are a governor and you have no powers, you are hamstrung. It's not even almost. It's become clear that the federal government appears to have an interest in handicapping those who are being faced with the marauders that we are faced with in the rainforests of southern Nigeria. So if the governor has come out as he has, he himself has made it clear that it's not about law. This is about a need, a necessity. We are facing an existential threat. And it is interesting that it is the governor, who is usually a very tame person, that has come out to state this. There is nothing he has said that other people have not said stridently across the length and breadth of southern Nigeria. So he has spoken everybody's mind to a very large extent. Forget politics. Reality is that we are actually facing an existential threat. And for the federal government to continue to demand that the Amotekun force be carrying shakabula and pump action, whilst you have Fulani marauders in our countryside carrying automatic weapons, and the government itself confessing its impotence in the face of this, then it is really unconscionable to ask that the governor continues to harm his own force with shakabula when he's faced with sophisticatedly armed Fulani marauders. So it's a laudable thing. I applaud him. I hope it will not be lost in the hubris of presidential pursuit, and that you follow it through to a logical conclusion. I applaud what he has said, and I hope you follow through.
Yeah, the governor said under the doctrine of necessity, that is perhaps on which the point of law that the governor wants to come from to allow Amotekun to be armed. Would that be sufficient, considering we run a constitutional democracy? And in this sense, the fear of how to use it, under what laws, the police being empowered to do this and all of that. And I guess, Mr. Farutimi, that we are going to do 2023 election, and anyone who wants to lead this country must then be able to answer the question as to the structure of this country and how he or she will handle it, and how he or she will keep Nigeria together, and how he or she also will protect Nigerians and Nigeria as an entity in the face of the existential threat that Governor Akerodolu has pointed out.
Well, Sheon, the reality we are faced with is that Nigeria has practically been destroyed almost beyond repair. Whoever is going to be ruling Nigeria must be willing to reimagine it and then convince the people that there is a need to put it back together because it's almost been destroyed beyond repairs. The security architecture has been willfully and deliberately destroyed with all sorts of nepotistic policies that do not even make sense, because unless some people are deliberately out to destabilize and destroy the country, what they have done does not make sense. But this is a first step. He spoke about the doctrine of necessity. The reality is that a state exists principally to safeguard the lives and properties of those who live within its borders. Nigeria stopped existing for that purpose for quite a while. The state is failing. Palpably, is failing. I don't know why we keep lying to ourselves about the fact that Nigeria is failing. So if a governor has woken up, and I hope enough of them would wake up and they will be altruistic enough to understand that this is actually about saving the lives and properties of Nigerians, encouraging people to even believe that the country can survive the multiple attacks. So if a governor has woken up and is saying this, I hope other governors will wake up. Katsina State, today, I do not begrudge them the fact that they have the capacity to now defend themselves. But this should be available to every other state that is willing to take up the cost and the training and then put in the enabling laws. There is already a framework in place. There is an Amotekun law duly signed by the governors, duly passed by the state houses of assembly. That's already a legal framework within which this can be allowed to work if there is indeed the political will to safeguard the lives and properties of Nigerians. We can't continue the way we have, so something has to be done.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Farutimi. Let me go to Prof. Prof, now, you heard what Mr. Farutimi said. You've heard what the statement from Governor Akerodolu. And this is not the first time we are hearing this kind of commentary from a governor. Governor of Zamfara State had also said it, and there are reactions. Governor of Benue State had also said it. And this is coming out of frustration of some of these governors. Their second titles, is Chief Security Officer of their state. Give us a sense, first and foremost, from the point of law, where do we go from here? It doesn't look so much to me that these governors are now taking the laws into their own hands when the law really cannot protect or serve them the way it should serve them. Where do you think we should go from here, Prof?
Sean, thank you very much for having me. Let me thank my little friend for welcoming me also, Mr. Dele. I think that it appears that governors are now waking up, actually, to the reality of actually what the Constitution provides. If you look at Section 11.2 of the Constitution, you'll be amazed that the section even provides that states, and not the federal government alone, should be involved in maintenance of law and order. This is something that many people don't talk about, but I have the opportunity of saying it. If you look at that provision, it says that nothing, in fact, it's about the only portion of the Constitution that grants concurrent powers to both the states and the federal government in such a way that the doctrine of covering the fee does not apply. Because ordinarily, when both the federal government and the states have powers to exercise in respect of a particular matter, whenever the federal government make laws in such manner matter, state laws are literally set aside or suspended. But interestingly, Section 11.2 of the Constitution says that anytime issues of law and order, maintenance of law and order, are concerned, the House of Assembly of the state cannot be obstructed from making laws to ensure that there is supply and services, essential supply and services for the maintenance of law and order. And when you're talking of essential supplies and services, you can imagine what that means. When you're talking of services, Amotekun, as far as I'm concerned, I've written on it. Amotekun can be accommodated under that provision. In the same vein, supplies. What are supplies? Supplies can include vehicles, it can include arms, and so forth. So it's actually left for the state to normally advise the governors. The powers is not the governor's power. It's for the House of Assembly to make provision so that there can be supplies and services for maintenance of law and order within the borders of the state. So it's a misnomer to say that because the Constitution provides for only the Nigerian police force under Section 214 of the Constitution, and also grants some leverage for the state governors to operate or to direct the police force, it means that no other security outfit can exist. It's completely it's not correct. Even now that they have current framework, it's only the police that exist that provide the security matters. You have any security outfits in Nigeria? I'm not talking about the armed forces now. You have the NDLEA, for instance, they bear arms. You have the civil society, civil defense, they bear arms, and many other bodies. So there's no reason why we should, over these years, shut ourselves in the foot at the state level, expecting only the Nigerian police force to be the be-all and end-all as far as
Prof,
matters are concerned. So summarize, Governor Akerodolu is right, or is completely right.
Okay.
And I don't want us to politicize it. It's not a political issue. It's purely a constitutional question.
Absolutely. And that was why I'm going to do a follow-up, because you mentioned the principle of covering the field. The Section 3 of the Firearms Act specifically gives the prerogative and the powers of bearing arms to the president at his discretion. Let me just go for the benefit of Nigerians who do not have these laws in their hands presently. Now, it says, quote, "No person shall have in his possession or under his control any firearm or ammunition except in accordance with a license granted by the president acting in his discretion." Now, you mentioned the principles of covering the field. There is
that section.
Go ahead.
That section you quoted is a section of a statute.
Yes.
I quoted Section 11.2, which is the Constitution, and you know what that means.
Yes, absolutely.
Section 1.1 of the Constitution is very clear that any law that that is in conflict with the Constitution is null and void.
Yeah.
To the extent of the inconsistency. So I'm not saying that the president does not have power to provide, to license and all that, but I am saying that, and if you go and look at it, Section 11, Section 2 of the Constitution is very emphatic that no law, nothing can prevent the State House of Assembly from making law to guarantee law and order in the state and ensure the provision of essential supplies and services for maintenance of law and order.
But Prof, apologies, Prof. Do you also advise your man to on which of the lists this issue of arms bearing is on the legislative list of the Constitution?
I was just going to make this point. You see, we should not always look at the issue of federalism and federation in a conflictual sense, as if you are fighting each other. No, it says we operate a cooperative federal system. It is expected that in furtherance, of course, the arms is in the exclusive list. And so, inevitably, before you can even acquire guns, there are some federal issues you have to deal with. But it's not such that the federal government will now become obtrusive. I think that's the point that Akerodolu was trying to say. It's not a political issue at all. In other words, if the president has not been cooperative, for instance, just assuming, he's not been, if he has been obstructing the effort of the states, particularly the states operating at Motekun, to acquire guns so as to maintain law and order. And this sort of bold statement, that's a way of challenging the president to ensure that he does not operate in a double standard manner. You can't permit one particular state far away to allow, to acquire guns and then obstructing others. It doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely. So, Prof,
I think that is the question. It's not a political matter at all. Please let us try to avoid politicizing it. That's anytime we do that, then we lose focus completely. We are talking of maintenance of law and order here, and law and order is something that affects all. And so I commend Governor Akerodolu for his bold statement, and it's a wake-up call to all of us.
All right. Let me go back to Mr. Farotimi on this matter. Look, what we are talking about tonight is about lives and the livelihood of people. If you meet people whose family members have been killed by these bandits and these killers, they will tell you that no matter what it takes to protect the citizenry, the governors should do it. And in fact, that some of the governors are coming around at this time. Some people will refer to it as late in the day. Now, we're going into the electionary period where a lot of promises are going to be made. What concrete things do you think Nigerians should be asking those who want to lead them in terms of properly shaping the structure of this country to be able not only to secure the people, also to put confidence in the minds of people that they can go to the market or they can get on the expressway from one city to the other and they are getting to their destination without being kidnapped or being killed?
Well, let's first of all be clear about something. This is deeply political. It is not about law. If it were to be about law, Akerodolu would have been busy citing sections and clauses. He didn't. But he was quite strident in making clear that unless our unitary system of policing is a deliberate method of subjugation, which must be challenged, then something has to change. So you begin to understand that whoever we're in a good season and it's a good conversation to be having. And it is a very urgent one too, because it has become even more apparent that we have to take another look at the way the country is policed, the entire security infrastructure and the structure of its governance. Why the governor of a state should have to defer to the license of a president who might be as nepotistic as our current president, who would think nothing of allowing licenses to one part and denying it to another part, yet they are in the same political party. So it's quite political, even though we can couch it in legal terms. But it is important that the people themselves begin to look beyond issues of ethnicity and religion and begin to demand substantive changes from every layer of person who comes to them to ask for their vote. What is the need for us? Would we get the federal state that has been stolen from us? Are we going to get it back because you got involved? Or can we expect that our lot would remain as miserable as it currently is? These are the questions that must necessarily be asked. If the candidates are not responsive to demand for restructuring, obviously we need to be looking beyond those ones. I'm being careful because I am quite partisan on the subject so that I don't particularize, but these are political issues and the people must ask questions of those who are offering themselves, not just for the presidency, for governorship. Imagine if other governors in Yoruba land and in the entire South are speaking specifically to these challenges that are facing all of us. Imagine if they were. We will be in a much better place. So we need to pay attention. Who are the people we are sending to houses of assembly? We must become interested in what's going on around us.
Although, one has not been able to verify the claim upon which Governor Akerodolu laid his commentary on this matter from the Katsina point of view, that the federal government, the video showing that the federal government has given a permit to Katina security outfit to bear arms and all of that. But before we go on a break, just quickly, Mr. Farotimi, if you can give us a sense of where do we, because we will finish the election and come back and things will look as though, it's normal and we go about our businesses just as usual. And this issue of our structure of how we need to operate so that states can be more functional will be put into the back burner. How do we hope, because that was part of the question I was asking, how do we get that conversation to the point of execution? In the fact that what Governor Akerodolu was essentially raising is that there is a faulty system we operate in this country, some kind of a double standard. How do we achieve practically a standard that works for our federal states?
Sheo, there is a coming clash of visions. The one that demands that we continued our race backward to Kabul, and the one that is demanding a race into the future where we run the human race and stop running the rat race into which Nigerians have been plunged for a while. That clash of vision would demand debates, and those debates are going to be taking place in form of campaigns. Those who have nothing to say during the campaigns would have loads of slander and lies and divisive languages to trade. But those of us who demand a race into the future, we would have a lot to say to the Nigerian people at the appropriate time. But what I can say to you is this: it's going to be business as usual. Forget that bit about so will they have the election will be over. Yeah, the election will be over, but this is going to be a very unusual election. The Nigerian people are seriously interested in what becomes of them going forward. They are interested in who rules them and what ideas they will be ruled by. And I have no doubt on my mind that we are going to be entering a season where we're going to have a lot of changes. I'm excited about what is coming. I'm not, I don't expect that it will be business as usual. Mark my word.
What kind of business? What are you expecting? Anything extraordinary?
Yes, I am. Oh, yes, I am expecting everything to change. I expect the Nigerian people to become interested, as they have become quite interested. I expect there to be a very, very clear choice presented to the Nigerian people. The Nigerian people are going to have to choose whether they want to raise into antiquity or whether they want to raise into the future. And I believe that the coming election, once the campaign starts and the ideas begin to evolve and people begin to hear, they would understand the clarity with which they have to make the decision for their future. We have to decide whether we are a country or whether we are a slave plantation, for instance. Nobody gets ruled by the will of impunity. You have to live by the rule of law. But the way we are right now is anything but that. But the people need to be told. They need to be shown. And I'm excited about the process of showing them, about telling them, explaining to them why they need to choose a different path into the future. I'm excited about all of that. And I do not believe for 1 second that it is beyond the capacity of the Nigerian to take the right decision. I don't trust INEC, hoping that they will behave themselves. We'll be watching them. But I do not believe for 1 second that the will of the people would not effect the changes we require.
All right.
We need it.
On this matter, let me get Prof's parting shot. Prof, how do we concretize, standardize some of these issues? Because that is in the heart of what Governor Akerodolu is talking about.
Well, I think that's why we have the Governors Forum. They need to come together, and then be able to exert pressure on the president to ensure that the governors are carried along. Because at the moment, we seem to have, so to say, assumed that the governors should play the role that the president plays as far as security is concerned, although that's a different discussion entirely. But bottom line is that you cannot have a provision that I've mentioned which allows the State House of Assembly to pass laws with respect to maintenance of law and order and provision of essential supply and services. And then you have a president or the national level obstructing the actual constitutional intent for granting that kind of power, unhindered power to the State House of Assembly. And what is it? The issue of procurement of arms. If small and light weapons are all over the place without, illegally, I don't see why you should obstruct a lawful, part of this country's government from doing the needful, which is to acquire arms, if that is the concern of Governor Akerodolu. Of course, Amotekun has been in existence now for about 2 years, almost 2 years, and nobody has actually challenged the constitutionality of that outfit. And even if that is challenged, I'm sure it will fail. So in order for the outfit to be functional as it is intended, it ought to be able to have a major tool for its operation, and that is to be arms. And then it ought to be able to collaborate with the police for the purpose of achieving the whole idea of maintenance of law and order. What happened in a war, is something that is very embarrassing. It's not enough to have this sort of terrible situation and everybody sympathizing. No, government exists, as my learned friend has said, to protect the life and property of citizens. And so if government cannot do that, whether at the state level or at the national level, or even at the state, local government level, then the confidence that the people have in government will erode.
Thank you so much, Prof.
So at the end of the day, my advice is that this is not a political issue at all. It's a very serious matter of security of life and property. Whether or not you are a politician, you are going to be affected one way or the other. And so our political leaders must come together under the governance forum to engage with the president so that they can have a uniform application and make it easier for the states to be able to acquire arms so that we can stem this
Thank you so much, Prof.
tide of insecurity.
Thank you so much, Prof. I appreciate so much, as well as Mr. Omori, Mr. Dele Farotimi. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your legal and perspectives on this matter. Thank you so much indeed. We take a break, and when we return, everyone, we'll delve into the PDP matter. Now, there are perspectives from Port Harcourt, and here in Abuja, events have happened which may shape the future of PDP. Mr. Sani Umar, a former presidential spokesperson and a former presidential campaign council spokesperson, will be joining me to look at the PDP continued internal bleeding. When will it stop? How will this party go forward into the campaign? Stay with me, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone. Welcome back to the program. Well, in the past days, the centers has not been able to hold for the PDP, and things are really getting, very interesting. Today, the Rivers State Governor, Nyesom Wike, says, contrary to some expectations, he and his loyalists in Rivers State will not leave the People's Democratic Party, but remain to continue the fight for internal democracy. Governor Wike said that this during a meeting with stakeholders of the party across the 316 wards of the state at a banquet hall of the government house in Port Harcourt. He says retreating from a fight is a sign of weakness. Take a listen to Governor Wike.
Very much ahead of them. There's no plot, the plot that I don't know in advance. Before the plot, I've got ahead. You think at our level, you deceive us? You tell us stories. Luckily for us, when Atiku reacted, look at what he said. That it was only Rivers State that did not consult to bring names. In essence, Rivers State does not matter. I'm not the one who said, he said it in his reaction. So they told every other state, they never told the Rivers. They stayed and choose those they want that will campaign for them. No problem. Since nobody want to campaign to me for me to vote, no problem. One thing I've always told people, if everybody is thinking, doing anything to think that will leave PDP, we will do the fight in the party there.
That's Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, is bearing his mind on what is happening. Now, the Board of Trustees chairman of the PDP is leading a reconciliation movement within the party to resolve the internal wranglings among members ahead of the party's presidential campaign council inauguration that's slated for later this month. Speaking after a meeting with the chairman of the PDP Governors Forum in Abuja, the chairman of the PDP Board of Trustees, Senator Adolphus Wabara, notes that the committee has been visiting some governors in the party to reconcile all aggrieved members ahead of the 2023 general elections. According to him, the BOT members will also be visiting the party's presidential candidate and other prominent members of the party to end all disagreements within the party. Here is the views of Senator Wabara.
We all know that the Board of Trustees is the conscience of the party, and whenever there are issues of this nature, the Board of Trustees steps in as part of their function in the party, constitutionally speaking. And we've engaged with them, and I believe that what they are likely to come up with is going to be a solution to the problem we have. Rest assured that as governors of the party, we're also talking to ourselves on the way forward. And very soon the Governors Forum will meet, and we will also come up with what we feel should be the position and the way forward for the party.
You know, we are really digging around, you know, to find a lasting solution to this. A solution for us, all of us, to come together, to come on board, and then win the election in flying colors.
First, you heard Governor Tambuwal, who is the DG of the Presidential Campaign Council and the chairman of the PDP Governors Forum, and then Senator Wabara, who is the interim chairman of the Board of Trustees. Let's get perspective. Yesterday, we spoke to Chief Oladibode George, a member of the Board of Trustees of the PDP. Let's now get a view from a former presidential spokesperson who also served as a spokesperson of the Presidential Campaign Council of the PDP in 2019 election. Mr. Sanu Umar joins us live in our Abuja studio. Thanks so much, Mr. Umar.
You're most welcome, Sean.
The steam coming from Port Harcourt, you think it will consume your party?
Well, I have implicit confidence in the ability of our party to resolve all internal issues that are bedeviling it at the moment. Perhaps I am not oblivious of the fact that people have a way of expressing themselves, especially when they are hot, you know. But nevertheless, one can say, without any fear of contradiction, that Port Harcourt will be one of our rallying points towards winning the 2023 presidential election.
Now, you heard what Governor Wike said. He said Rivers State, according to the presidential candidate, was the only state not consulted in the choice of the membership of the Presidential Campaign Council. And you heard what happened also 2 days ago, the night coming into yesterday, and the fact that the grievances are that the South is not, some section of the party have been sidelined in the scheme of things, therefore leading to the call for the sack of the national chairman, Senator Yocha Ayu.
Well, I do not subscribe to the fact that when His Excellency Atiku Abubakar said all, what he has had, because that is what he said, what he has had from the party is that only Rivers have not been able to bring some people into the campaign council. That is not to underscore the fact that Rivers State was not going to be consulted, but that there was consultation between the party and the Rivers State governor over his continuous stance on the removal of Ayu. And that alone can't work, because if the governor is saying you must go, and then you want to approach him to give you names, how do you go and approach him? Unless those issues are resolved before you now place the burden of bringing names of Rivers people to him. I don't think Rivers State is not needed. Rivers State is adequately needed. Rivers State is a state that has been in the forefront of giving PDP.
I'm not sure there are no River State person there. Like Senator Lee member is on that committee,
yes.
And we know that Governor Wike and Senator Lee member they're not on the same page right now. Yeah. So putting that senator on the campaign, is it aggravating the issue as far as you're concerned?
No, I don't think, because when Wike says River State have not been approached, I don't think he was referring to Senator Lee Maiba. He is referring to the fact that the party in Rivers was not asked to bring names, and that he, being the leader of the party in the state, is not aware that any name has been presented to the national headquarters of the party. However, if through the sidelines, somebody is brought into the campaign council, it still does not remove the fact that what he is saying, really has an effect on the outcome of that decision.
So the proviso here is, you must go or we pull out of the campaign council. What are your views on that?
Well, I think it is not appropriate at this time. I'm not saying that the call is out, is out of order, but it is coming at a very wrong time. The timing for Ayu must go is not the correct timing. One, Ayu has been elected. He is even, learning the ropes of running the party, understanding the issues of the party and trying to move the party forward. Now, you now want to remove him. There are two ways you can remove him. It is either you lay a complaint to the National Economic Council of our party and say he is guilty of certain offenses, or he can resign by himself. And Ayu says, I am not going to resign. And so if he's not going to resign, removing him will be the most difficult thing, because in the history of the party, only 3 chairmen or 2 chairmen have ever resigned in our party, and it was not easy. Bamanga Tukur resigned as the national chairman of the party. It was not easy. Adamu Maazu resigned as the national chairman of the party. It was not easy. It was a long process before they finally resigned. So I do not see Ayu resigning at this moment when we are fast approaching elections, maybe about 4 to 5 months to elections, and then he resigning, bringing a new person. And even if you are bringing a new person, the process within our constitution is that the person must undergo
So you think those who are calling for the sack of Ayu are asking for too much?
At this moment, they are not only asking for too much, it will affect the party negatively.
You think they don't love the party as much?
No. I am not saying they do not love the party. I believe that the call is inappropriate at this point in time. I am not saying that their call is not genuine or it has no substance. But I'm saying that they are making the call at a very wrong time, this is an election.
So if you were Atiku Abubakar,
yes,
because it does look like he's the man in the middle of all of this.
Yes.
So, and it does look to me from where I'm sitting right now that from all angles, even the man that should be the leader of the party, who is Senator Ayu, cannot control the situation as we speak. It's only Atiku Abubakar that can be able to rally everyone around. He's been a former vice president. I mean, a lot of those who are even in the BOT at one time or the other said sir to him because he's been a leader of the party. Now, the question is, if you were Atiku Abubakar, how would you resolve this matter?
Well, it is a very difficult and dicey situation because the characters and the personalities involved are people who have contested elections with him. And one of them has become the second person in the primaries. So there is some sense of entitlement, believing that I ought to have won this election and I didn't win due to certain issues. And so, this man, if not because of withdrawal of Tambuwal, I will have defeated him. And so that sense of entitlement is giving the reconciliation effort, a very difficult stance. However, it is not beyond the capacity of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. The issues are germane. He has made the first effort He has gone to London.
Well, he has made it clear that Senator Ayu will not go as far as he's concerned. If on the basis that which he can go is if the law, the constitution of the party is being considered, and if Ayu can be convinced to resign. Those are the options. That means Atiku Abubakar somehow does not, I'm not sure he's favorably disposed to asking Ayu to go. And Ayu has been accused of bias, that he actually helped Atiku to win the election. That was coming from former Governor Jonah Yang. But the question here, basically, to wrap up, is this. The party is at the risk of losing this election even before the campaign starts. Because the caliber of people that say they will pull out from the different states, they are not just from one state, they are from different states. Not only River State. We have Mimiko from Ondo State. We have Jonah Jang from Plateau State. We have Donald Duke from Cross River, from different states. All of these persons, Ekiti State, they were all present there. And these are leaders that will command votes. Now, you have the election to lose, or Yocha Ayu to lose. Which one would you pick if you were Atiku Abubakar?
Atiku Abubakar has no... let us get this thing straight, Sean. The issue is not... Atiku Abubakar was not responsible for the removal of Uche Secondus. Atiku Abubakar was not responsible for the removal of Ali Modu Sharif. He didn't... So he came in as a presidential candidate and met an existing chairman, who is the chairman of the party. Now, how does he remove him from the party? Why is the burden of his removal?
Did you hear what Chief Bode George said yesterday? That the leaders of the party conceded for another candidate to run for the ticket of the party. And the agreement was that should a northern candidate emerge, the national chairman, in fact, the national chairman had said it, that he's so democratic that he will pull out. Those are some of the grounds.
Well, I'm not aware that in any of the NEC meetings, which is the highest organ of the party, such an agreement exists on ground. Perhaps it's in honor binding. Maybe the two of them agree.
They said it's on moral ground. That's what Chief Bode just said.
But it is not an agreement that is, binding, which has, been placed before the party. So it is a difficult situation for anybody to say.
I've asked you the question because we need to close. If you were Atiku Abubakar, which one would you lose which one will you choose to lose? The election or Yocha Ayu?
I love both.
So you want to keep both?
I want to keep both because this is not the time.
Mr. Sani Umar, it's good to see you again. Thank you so much indeed for coming tonight.
It's my pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm sure Kimberly. Bye for now.